So, it's the morning of November 5th, 2023. The clock has rolled back 1 hour, and my cat did not get the memo. Cats are known for getting the zoomies at certain times. This is usually a time when I would like to get a little more sleep before the alarm goes off. And this feline friend of mine doesn't care what time the alarm is set for. A cat's internal clock is founded in emotion, and if the cat is awake, I should be as well. As I ponder what parts of me are going to ache when I get out of bed, my thoughts go to what needs to be done today. I have several video reviews to complete, and it's simply a question of which one. But coffee first, which I drink to protect others. And, with a coffee cup in hand, I make the trip to the office and begin pounding the keyboard to bring you this review. Good morning. It's the Range Ronin. You might be asking what firearm review is so important that I would lose precious sleep over. Well, if you stay tuned, you will find out, and I will tell you all about it. Using a little ingenuity and some clever marketing, Glock has stood the test of time and endures as one of the most popular pistol brands on the market. Glock pistols are those that we pick out and pick on. They have been picked out for government use, law enforcement use, competition, and carried by civilians. There are those who pick on Glock pistols because of their polymer nature, square body design, not so great triggers, and those polymer sights that are the focus of finding replacements for. Chambered for calibers of .22 long rifle, 9mm, .380 auto, .357 SIG, .40 Smith & Wesson, .45 ACP, .45 cap, and 10mm. We see pistols of up to 5 generations that include MOS, slimline, and crossovers. There are frame sizes of subcompact, compact, competition, and long slides. Uses consist of competitive shooting, home defense, hunting and outdoors, occupational, personal defense, recreational shooting, and training. I realized at one point that I could rid myself of all my handguns, acquire Glock pistols, and I would be well protected by polymer. For me, my preferred cartridge remains the .45 ACP, and there are currently 9 Glock pistols that chamber that round, 8 of which are all double-stacked magazine pistols that range in standard capacity from 10 to 13 rounds of .45 ACP. Then, there is the subcompact G36 with its 6 rounds of ammunition stuffed in a single-stack magazine. The original quantity of cartridges offered in the Cold Officer Model 1911, and which is close in size, among others. Today, the subcompact Glock G36 is what I'm going to tell you all about. With the G36, Glock's goal was to create a subcompact pistol in 45 ACP with a thinner profile and a lighter carry weight than the G30 double-stack model. The frame width was trimmed down to just 1.13 inches, the slimmest of all the Glocks in the 45 family, and skinnier than most of its competitors. The standard 10-round magazine was replaced with a non-interchangeable 6-round magazine. Along with the frame, the slide's internal and external dimensions were modified to reduce the pistol's weight. The result was a 45 ACP with an unloaded weight that was 4 ounces lighter than the G30 and with a thinner grip. The 3.78-inch barrel has a very wide opening at the muzzle that says that you are looking down the barrel of a very substantial caliber, or at least that's what it should convey to anyone wishing to do harm to you and yours. And yes, the barrel is polygonal rifled. Note that there is no Gen 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the G36. It is simply G36. No improvements by Glock have been made to the G36 since its inception, except that later models have an accessory rail. Mine does not. The sights are box stock Glock polymer, but as with all Glock pistols, the sights can be changed to something more desirable. Personally, I have never had an issue with the stock Glock sights, and I actually like them, as they stick out for my old eyes to see and are adequate enough for close-quarter drills at the range. With that said, I will opt for the XS 3-dot tritium night sights that I favor just a bit more. Looking at the left side of the G36, nothing looks out of place, to include the standard markings. Flipping the eyes to the right side, that little hole in the slide where expended shells come out is not centered in the slide. Gives the appearance that Glock just chopped the barrel and slide. That's exactly what Glock did. Overall, it does throw the visuals off a bit. The slide width, however, is slimmer than the G21 and G30, but is the same as the G30S and G41 at 1 inch. The slide still incorporates that blocky Glock look to it. Funny thing is that when you aim the G36, slide really does not look all that blocky. The trigger guard is full size, as is the trigger with its ridged and rounded self that, like all Glocks, incorporates the standard Glock trigger safety lever. It must be pressed for the trigger to provide that all-familiar free play, heavy sponge, and release feel that has caused many of us to develop a love-hate relationship with Glock triggers. This specimen has a 4-pound, 4.3-ounce trigger pull weight with a 5-pull average. For myself, I may be weird, but I find the trigger operation and pull just about right for a stressful situation. Too light can cause the pistol to discharge prematurely. Too heavy can cause accuracy issues. After all, I am the one who has to adapt to the trigger, and not vice versa. The grip length is one shortcoming of the pistol, literally. With the standard magazine, my pinky has nowhere to go but under the grip. I rectified that with pierced grip extensions for each of my magazines. That, at least, gave my little finger a place to rest. You probably have noticed the slip-on grip sleeve. The grip texture of the G36 is not aggressive, and I found my hand slipping on the grip while holding it, especially during live fire. I opted for the Pachmayr Tactical Grip Glove. The G36 feels much more stable in the hand when gripping. While not perfect, it seems to be working, but I find myself readjusting my grip between shots anyway, which is a habit that I'm working on to break. While some folks say not to use them, I installed a grip plug to provide a tad more grip real estate against the palm of the hand. It is easy enough to remove, if need be. Rolling to the right side of the slide, the external extractor does its job well of pulling spent cases from the chamber. On the left side of the frame, the slide stop also does its job well to lock back the slide on an empty magazine. The slide stop button is small and lacking in real estate for the thumb to have any real control over it to release the slide, should it be used for such. In a recent search of the www for an extended slide release, I did come across one that was actually in stock, and I have provided a link to that source in the description section. Fortunately, there are enough serrations at the rear of the slide to accommodate moving the slide to the rear for chambering or locking the slide back. That said, the captivated recoil spring guide rod assembly has a substantial spring rate, enough to warrant some gripping strength when attempting to move the slide. The disassembly mechanism is its usual small self, and yes, the G36 has the leaf spring for the takedown assembly, rather than the newer coil spring. Last but not least is the magazine and magazine catch and release button. The magazine button is a small rectangular and serrated affair that cannot be swapped to the right side. Sorry, left-handed fellers and fellettes. The magazines are the usual Glock polymer wrapped metal units that are clearly marked for 45 ACP ammunition, and that, when loaded, can be seen through 6 witness holes. The magazines, as on par with Glock magazines, are totally reliable, until they are not, as are most magazines for Glock pistols. You might notice the indented portion of the magazine at the top. That is to ensure that the first or next round in the magazine will chamber properly. It also indicates that the magazine is slightly staggered in its content, thus making the magazine a staggered, single-stack magazine. I know, I am being picky, but that's the way things stack up. Alright, bad pun. One feature that you may or may not have noticed is the flat profile of the entire pistol. Any images of the Glock G36, the baby Glock, and even the Glock G30, the larger 45 ACP counterpart to the G36, you will notice the raised portion of the frame. G36 does not have this. This is due to a thinner dual recoil spring guide rod assembly that negates the use of a wider locking block, thus reducing the overall profile of the G36. There is one more thing to check out, and that is to check out from these features and check into the range. So, let's do that. While the G36 may not be pretty to look at, it shows its true colors at the range. The G36 is built for close quarters work. Some might consider it a backup firearm, while others might consider it as a primary sidearm. With some 230 grain FMJ on hand and a few 6-hour 230 grain V-Crown jacketed hollow points available, it's time to see what I am capable of with the G36. I have full confidence in the G36, maybe not so much of myself with it. Let's see if the G36 and I can work together as a well-oiled unit. Maintenance of the Glock G36 is as straightforward as with any Glock pistol, with regard to safety checks, disassembly, inspection, lubrication, assembly, and function checks. Glock maintenance is well documented, and I am not going to take up your time by presenting the full maintenance monty here. I will, however, invite you to view the Glock downloadable material site, where you can download the user manual and inspection list used by Glock armorers, preventive maintenance instructions, and more, including a Glock warranty form, information regarding Glock adjustable sights, MOS plate instructions, and part ordering information for both Glock armorers and non-armorers. So, let's move on to carrying and concealing the Glock G36. Being of a subcompact nature, the Glock G36 lends itself to concealed carry. Some may say that the G36 is a chunky little critter, but let's put that into perspective, shall we? The overall width of the G36 is less than the officer's style 1911 in 45 ACP caliber, which is 1.34 inches, as compared to the 1.14 inches of the G36. The height of the G36 at 4.72 inches is shorter than that of the officer style 1911 5 inches. You may or may not know that the original capacity of the Colt officer's model 1911 was 6 rounds, just as with the G36. The unloaded weight of the G36 is much less at 22.4 ounces with an empty magazine, as compared to the 31 ounces of weight with the officer's model 1911. With that said, there are as many similarities as there are differences between the Glock G36 and a 1911 of comparable size. Getting to the carry part, looking through the holster drawer, I came across a Gelco King Tuck holster for the Glock G30 that also works well with the G36. There is also the Alien Gear Cloak Tuck 3.5 for the Glock G21, G22, G20, and G30 that works well with the G36, and which I can quickly set up for strong side or cross-draw carry. A We the People holster also fits the bill for securing the G36 for strong side, appendix, and cross-draw carry. Finally, there is the Gelco Classic Light 2.0 shoulder system that also works with a wide range of semi-automatic pistols. These holsters are my choices, and your preference may differ, which is fine. Carry in a holster and method that works for you. Just carry in a safe manner. Now, let's move on to my final impressions of the Glock G36. The Glock G36 is just one of those pistols that is not spoken about very much. The closest comparisons of polymer subcompacts that come close to the G36 was the Springfield Armory XDS Mod 2 3.3 single-stack 45 ACP handgun with tritium sight that is now discontinued, but has been replaced with the XDS Mod 2 OSP 3.3 single-stack 45 ACP handgun with a 3-inch barrel and 5 or 6 round capacity, depending on the magazine. There is also the XDM Elite 3.8 compact OSP 45 ACP handgun X Dragonfly with a 10+1 round capacity, a 3.8-inch barrel, and a grip width of 1.2 inches, although it is listed as a compact pistol. The latter being of a staggered magazine design and not a single stack, if that matters. Also, there is the Car Arms CW45 with a 6+1 single stack capacity and a 3.46-inch barrel. Regardless, the G36 remains a workhorse of the Glock line, with the only update, as compared to mine, is an accessory rail that was added at some point. With regard to grip texture, the G36 falls short in that department, as I find the grip very slippery in my hand. Thus the reason for adding a Pachmayr tactical grip glove that has a softer, grippier feel for my hand, and that helped in the hold and control department. The Glock G36 is a concealed carry pistol, and Glock seems to be selling enough of them to keep them in production. But this pistol rarely receives the kind of coverage other models attract, and that it rightly deserves. By all accounts, the G36 should be much more popular than it is. It's a Glock, with all of the quality, reliability, and ease of use the name implies. The G36 is the thinnest pistol in the Glock catalog of .45 caliber pistols. The felt recoil generated by this pistol is stout, but no more so than any other subcompact big-bore pistol. So why is it not more popular than it is? The answer may lie with the G36 ammunition capacity. Folks tend to prefer magazines that hold 10 rounds or more, and the 6+1 round capacity of the G36 is viewed as a limitation. In the revolver world, like with this Rossi RP63, folks accept 6 to 7 round capacities, even of .357 Magnum. But I am going to make an apple-to-orange comparison here. I would much rather shoot 6+1 rounds of 230 grain .45 ACP through the G36 than I would 2 rounds of .357 Magnum through the Rossi RP63. Those shooters who feel at ease with 7+1 or 8+1 shots of .45 ACP at their hips may rather give up their holster space to 1911 platforms, while soaking up some additional weight as a trade-off. Some may also opt for a Glock G30, with its 10+1 double-stack magazine capacity that can also use Glock G21 13-round magazines, but has a thicker grip and slide than the G36. Another alternative may be a Smith & Wesson M&P 45 M 2.04-inch compact with a 10+1 round capacity. But the Glock G36 is what it is, a subcompact pistol that is relatively easy to carry, conceals well, and harbors 6+1 rounds of 11.43mm ammunition. Now, in my humble opinion, the G36 is not a pistol for beginners, or for those trying out a Glock pistol for the first time. There are better options, Glock or not, that can serve that role. The G36 is, and was meant to be, a pistol that can be relied upon in close-quarter combat situations, and which fires a combat-proven cartridge, .45 ACP. With federal HST standard 230 grain JHP, expectations of 798 feet per second can be expected from a 3.78-inch barrel. But that is speculation, and not something that I can verify. Still, the .45 ACP is capable of making big holes and packs a wallop at close-quarter distances. In my book, the G36 is a sleeper. It should not be underestimated. It is a viable carry option, whether as a backup or as a prime carry piece. Well, here I am again, at the end of another chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicle. I hope that you can join me at another time. Until that time comes, stay vigilant, stay armed, and stay safe out there.